What if I told you that Nico Rosberg has seen something in Hamilton's data that could completely change the season, even before Ferrari wins a single race? Because we are not talking about one more podium, we are talking about numbers that do not fit with what we all believed about Ferrari after Bahrain. Rosberg has not stopped at the result. He has gone directly to the telemetry, the real pace, the degradation. And what he has found has left him shocked, and even worried. Why is Hamilton being so consistent with a car that in theory is not ready yet? What has Rosberg discovered that puts Mercedes on alert? And most importantly, are we seeing the beginning of something much bigger than it seems? What happened in China was not just another race on the calendar, it was the first real moment in which it was possible to truly measure where Lewis Hamilton is with Ferrari. Because after a difficult start in Australia, where neither the result nor the sensations reflected the true potential, there were many doubts about how much time it would take to adapt. And above all, if Ferrari really had a car capable of fighting Mercedes. But China completely changes that perception, not because of what was seen in the standings, but because of what the internal data that has come to light reveals. And this is where Nico Rosberg comes in, because his reaction does not come from the spectacle on the track, but from the deep analysis of that data. While many stuck with P3, Rosberg went much further. He focused on the long stints, the evolution of pace lap by lap, and how Hamilton managed each phase of the race. And what he found breaks completely with Ferrari's initial narrative. We are not talking about an inconsistent or limited car. We are talking about a car that, in race conditions, behaves with a stability that no one expected so early in the season. Because if there is something that defines this first major block of analysis, it is consistency. Hamilton was not only fast at specific moments, he was constant throughout the race. Their lap times remained within an extremely narrow range, without sudden drops, without unexpected peaks. Something we normally only see in cars that have a very well-established aerodynamic and mechanical foundation. And this is precisely what shocks Rosberg, because it means that Ferrari is not improvising. Ferrari has a solid foundation. Furthermore, there is a key detail that begins to change everything: tire degradation. In Shanghai, where tire management is critical, Hamilton showed virtually perfect control, extending stints without losing any real performance. This is not just a merit of the driver, it is a direct sign that the car allows you to work within an optimal window for longer. And when a car allows you that, it automatically makes you competitive in any strategic scenario. But the most important thing about all this act is not what Hamilton has already achieved. It is what this means going forward. Because Rosberg is not reacting to the present, he is anticipating the future. And what he sees is worrying for Mercedes, a Hamilton who already understands the car, who can now push without fear, and a Ferrari that responds with stability, predictability, and sustained performance. A combination that, if it evolves, can become a real threat much sooner than anyone expected. This is the turning point. It's not a victory, it's not a pole, it's something much more dangerous, confirmation that there is real potential. And when someone like Rosberg, who perfectly understands what this data means, is shocked, it is because he knows that this is no coincidence. Rosberg is not reacting to the past, he is anticipating a threat. And this is where it all starts to escalate, because when we dig even deeper into the data, we're no longer just talking about consistency, we're talking about actual performance comparable to Mercedes. Rosberg focuses on a point that goes unnoticed by most: pace and clean air. Because one thing is what you see in traffic, conditioned by strategy, DRS or fights, and quite another is what a car does when it has a free track. And that is where Hamilton begins to show something that completely changes the reading of the Chinese GP. Lap by lap, in clean conditions, the gap to Mercedes is much smaller than qualifying suggested. This is not perception, it is data. In fact, in key sectors of the circuit, especially in medium and high-speed corners, Ferrari not only holds its own, at times it even matches the performance. And this is critical because these sectors are the ones that reflect the aerodynamic quality of the car, the stability and support, and the driver's confidence. This is where Rosberg begins to see something that worries him. Ferrari has charge, it has balance, and Hamilton knows how to use it. The problem, and here is the only clear weakness, is in the straight line. The top speed deficit is still present, and it is what prevents Ferrari from converting that pace into direct dominance. But this, far from reassuring Rosberg, does the opposite. Because if the only problem is aerodynamic efficiency or drag, that can be solved with development. The difficult thing is to have a solid base in curves, and Ferrari already has it. And here appears the factor that really changes everything: Hamilton. Because the data doesn't just talk about the car, it talks about the driver. Rosberg detects something that has not been seen for years. A Hamilton completely comfortable under braking, aggressive at corner entry and with total confidence in the rear axle. This is not a minor detail, it is a direct sign of connection between pilot and machine. And when Hamilton has that confidence, his level automatically rises. Even in pressure situations such as his internal duel with Leclerc, the times remain within minimum margins, without errors, without falls. That indicates you're not pushing the car beyond its limit, you're working within it with surgical precision. And that, for Rosberg, is the most dangerous of all, because it means there is still room. This is where the analysis stops being technical and becomes a warning. Because if Hamilton is already at this level in the second race, if Ferrari is already showing this stability, and if the improvements come as expected, then Mercedes is not facing an occasional rival. It is seeing the birth of a real contender. And Rosberg knows it. That's why his reaction is not surprise, it's alert. When Rosberg reviews the data further, he realizes that Hamilton is not pushing laps at the absolute limit to maintain that pace. There's no overdriving, no aggressive corrections, no signs of it fighting the car. And this is key because it means that this performance is not fragile, it is sustainable. This opens a scenario that is the true critical point of the analysis, the hidden margin. Because in Formula One, when a driver can maintain a high pace without going to the limit, that means there is still performance available. And Rosberg interprets it as the most dangerous sign of all. Ferrari is not yet showing its real ceiling. In addition, there is another factor that begins to take weight at this point, the natural evolution of the weekend. As the race progressed, Hamilton not only kept up, his understanding of the car in real-world conditions improved. This reinforces an idea that is even more worrying. Adaptation is not complete, it is in progress. And yet, the results are already competitive. Rosberg understands perfectly what this means because he has lived it. He knows that when a driver reaches this level of feeling so early in a new stage, the subsequent growth is usually exponential. It's not a linear progression, it's a jump. And if that jump comes in the next races, the balance of forces could be broken much sooner than expected. This is where it all gets awkward for Mercedes. Because until now they could think that Ferrari was in the adaptation phase, that they needed time, that they were not an immediate threat. But these data destroy that narrative. It's no longer a question of if Ferrari will arrive, it's a question of when. And the most disturbing thing of all is that Rosberg does not issue this warning from emotion. He does so from experience and a cold reading of the data. Because he knows that when all these factors align, consistency, trust, hidden margin and evolution, there is normally an inevitable outcome. And this is where everything fits together, and where Rosberg's reaction makes even more sense because we are no longer talking about isolated signs, we are talking about a clear trend that points to something much bigger. What Rosberg sees after analyzing all this data is not simply Hamilton performing well. He sees a driver who has regained his essence in record time, in a car that responds exactly as he needs. And that, in Formula One, is an extremely dangerous combination. Because when a driver like Hamilton enters that zone of total confidence, he stops depending on circumstances, and begins to constantly build results. But the most important thing of all is timing. We are talking about just the first races of the season in a context where Ferrari is still developing the car, where there is still room for obvious improvement, especially on the straight. And yet, they are already close enough to make Mercedes uncomfortable in real pace. This is what transforms Rosberg's analysis into a direct warning. If this is the beginning, what will happen when Ferrari optimizes that package? Because here is the key that closes the entire analysis. Ferrari does not need to reinvent itself, it just needs to evolve. You have the base, you have the balance, you have the tire management, and now you have a fully adapted Hamilton. And that completely changes the expected hierarchy of the championship. We are no longer facing a project under construction. We are facing a contender that could explode at any moment. Rosberg understands this perfectly because he's been there, he knows what these patterns in the data mean. It knows how to recognize when a car is alive and when a driver is in full connection with it. And that is why his reaction is not exaggerated, it is logical. Because what you have seen in China is not the roof of Ferrari, it is just the starting point. And if the rest of the grid doesn't react quickly, especially Mercedes, this could be the exact moment the season changed without anyone noticing. And in the end, it all comes down to an idea that is impossible to ignore. What Rosberg has seen in China is not a coincidence, it is a sign. Because when you analyze each piece, the consistency, the degradation, the pace in clean air, Hamilton's confidence, everything points in the same direction. Ferrari has found something it didn't have. A real basis on which to build a winning car. And the most disturbing thing for its rivals is not the present. It is the potential. Because Hamilton is still in the process of adaptation, Ferrari still has room for improvement, and yet they are already close enough to raise doubts in the dominant team. That's what makes this analysis so powerful, because it doesn't talk about what happened, it talks about what can happen. Rosberg has not been surprised by a podium, he has been surprised because he recognizes the patterns. He knows what a champion project looks like when it starts to take shape. And what he has detected in this data is exactly that: a balanced car, a growing driver, and a combination that, if it continues this trajectory, can completely change the course of the season. So the real question is no longer whether Hamilton can win again with Ferrari. The real question is how long it will take him to do so. Because if China is the beginning, the rest of the grid should start worrying now. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.